Hello, Leo, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot, and my name is Laura, and these will be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of April 2022. So this reading will be for Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. And as always, keep in mind that these readings are general in nature, so not all of the details that come through will be specific to your situation. So definitely take anything and everything that does resonate, however that makes sense for you specifically. Keep an open mind to anything that might be helpful and simply leave the rest. So Leo, I hope that March treated you well. Here we are. Happy spring. Happy Aries season. This is often a good season for Leos and Sagittarius, and obviously Aries, all fire signs. We're kind of at home in this season and in this energy. So yeah, I'm excited to take a look at the month ahead and see what might be coming through for you. So I've got your oracle cards here. We will pull some tarot and clarifiers, finish off with some affirmations. And as usual, I'm going to begin the reading by sharing with you some channeled messages. So these are messages that I sat down to connect with before I got your oracle cards out. So let me just grab my book and we'll get into that. Okay, so Leo, I have to say, as I was kind of doing my ritual in terms of grounding and preparing the cards and setting my intentions, trying to connect to your energy and so on, I had this sense of like excitement, but not even just excitement, but it's kind of like a hyperactivity, like, you know, being really busy, feeling really productive, like that it's kind of like that energy of being on a roll, like having a lot to do and being really focused and driven, not in like a low exhausting kind of way, but it's like almost when the things that you're accomplishing make you feel so productive that you just get even more like of an energy boost to continue being productive. Like that was very much the energy that I got. So you might already be in that energy, or that might be kind of like a theme for you this month. I just thought that was interesting because it really stood out, because as I was doing my ritual, I was like, yeah, like let's get this done. Like just very, and usually it's just kind of like a quiet moment, and I take my time. So that might make sense for you this month. I'll be curious to see. The other thing that I will mention is, because I had set the intention that I was going to do the reading for Leo today, I actually had a really interesting dream experience. I always have like crazy dreams and like weird things happen. Sometimes like lucid dreams, sometimes like dreams that aren't really dreams. It's like really bizarre. I don't know if any of you can relate to that. But the thing that happened to me last night was I had a dream, and this person that I haven't seen in years showed up in this dream, and we were just kind of like hanging out, having a good time. And it very much felt like not your average dream. Like it felt like this person's energy, this person's essence. Because sometimes dreams are fuzzy, or it's like, you know, your own interpretation of a situation. This very much felt like this person's energy and not mine. And so it was like we haven't seen each other in a while, and now we're like reunited and we're just hanging out, like going on adventures and doing stuff. So it was a really strange experience. And that's happened to me a number of times before. But that really stood out to me when I woke up, and it's been kind of like in the back of my mind as I've been preparing for the reading this morning. So you might be somebody who has those types of experiences, perhaps like I know that we can see each other and meet each other kind of like on the astral plane when we're dreaming, just because we kind of go to a different, like there are less boundaries, right, between our energy, and we're, yeah, I don't want to get too weird on you guys, but it's like, as far as I know, that is a thing, and my own personal experiences are enough to kind of validate that just for me. But you may experience something like that, where you're connecting with people through dreams and it feels significant, just like passed on loved ones can visit you in dreams, and like that feels different or symbolic. We can also connect with other people, like the energy of other living people. And I kind of got the sense like like this person might have actually been there in my dream, like maybe dreaming the same thing at the same time, like a shared dream type thing. So you may be somebody who experiences something like that. Maybe you've had that sense before. Maybe there's someone specifically that comes to you and shows up in dreams that you're not particularly involved with on the day-to-day basis. And so that was interesting. Just keep that in mind, and also be aware of what kind of emotions you have connected to this person. Like if there's somebody that you don't mind like having contact with, or it's like it's nice to see them, then that's something that's good. But if it's somebody that is tied to your past in like a negative way, it might just be like a need to set boundaries around your energy, because if they're not in your life in the physical world because they're not good for you, or it's not a good dynamic, then setting energetic boundaries so that those people are not showing up in your dream space. And this, I mean, is like, you know, not the dreams that we have no control over, like the subconscious stuff, but even just setting the intention that you just don't want that person in your space might be helpful to you if that is disruptive, if that's something that you're experiencing. So in terms of your channeled messages, Leo, the first thing that came through was sovereignty. So it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like being able to own yourself, to stand on your own, like not needing to be led or guided or necessarily supported. It's kind of like a self-sufficient energy. But the trouble is that Leos came here to experience ego and to struggle, like grapple with ego, and to learn how to embrace, you know, sharing and taking up space and receiving attention, or playing some kind of role, like leadership role, but not to fall victim to ego. So it's like, that's why you all are here. That's kind of like your overarching lesson to learn. So when it comes to sovereignty, it's not about, you know, classifying yourself as being strong or classifying yourself as being better or like not needing anyone else. This is very much a strong, mature, grounded, empowered stance on like knowing what's best for you and being able to do that for yourself, even if no one else can understand or support you in the ways that you're looking for. And it's not coming from a place of negative emotion. It's not coming from a place of insecurity, and it's not coming from like bravado and a need to prove yourself, which, you know, sometimes if we have challenging experiences with certain types of people, or we feel disadvantaged, we feel like we need to come back stronger and prove to everybody else. And it's like, this is very much a feeling of, this might be a very good month for you to really truly like start stepping into your own power and seeing your ability to take care of things for yourself, and to not take on the worries of other people, and to not worry about their opinions and judgments, because the next thing that came through is kind of related, and it was don't worry about what anyone else is doing, and don't worry about what they think about what you're doing. So it's kind of like mind your business, right? Like just focus on you and doing what you need to do from a grounded like place of sovereignty, like you are in your power, right? And focus on what you need to do for yourself. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. You know, don't worry about if someone's doing the same thing that you're doing, or if someone is doing something that you think takes away. Don't worry about who's paying attention to what you're doing or who's supporting it. It's kind of like, those are just tricks to kind of see like, are you fully invested in yourself? Are you doing what you need to do? So I think the best thing that you can do is just to kind of, focus on you and what you need to do in the most holistic way, you know, and supporting your own success. And don't let anyone else get you off track. Don't worry about, you know, analyzing what other people are doing, criticizing what other people are doing. Don't worry about receiving criticism or what people really think about you. That's not any of your business, and that's not going to be, you know, empowering you to be your best self and make the decisions that are in your highest good. So I think that's going to be a really empowering energy, and that's very like much an Aries energy, where it's kind of like, just be your own boss, do your own thing, and you know, not letting concern with other people throw you off of your game or detract from your energy that you should be kind of like putting into yourself and your own development. The next thing that came through was cherry blossoms. So obviously we're in spring. This is the time when, like, you know, the trees are going to start budding, the grass is coming back, flowers are going to start. And I know cherry blossoms are associated with spring as well. That's when they bloom. But it was kind of interesting because I got like an image of, like, there was a restaurant, a sushi restaurant that my husband and I used to go to. And as soon as you walked in the door, there was like a huge poster of that, I can't remember the name of it. The mountain in Japan, like the volcano, I guess. So it's like snow capped, and that's in like the background, and it's like blue sky, and in the foreground there's like all of these cherry trees in bloom, and there's this like little Zen garden. So I got a flash of that image specifically. So cherry blossoms may have some kind of significance to you. I don't know if they bloom this month, April. I think it might be a little bit early, but I don't know for sure. So either that or the connection to Japan, Japanese cherry blossoms, a trip to Japan, maybe just a sushi restaurant. Maybe that's why I saw that. So however that makes sense to you. The next thing that came through was fork it over. And so for me, that's like dealing with money. It can do with like having to make an investment, perhaps owing money, or having money exchange hands. But the sense that I got very much is it's like one person is expecting something and the other person has to give. And this doesn't have to be money. It could be, you know, just something valuable to you in general. But it was very much the sense of like reluctance, like somebody is expecting it of you and you have to. There's like a sense of obligation. Like, this isn't necessarily something that I want to do, something that I want to give, money that I want to part with, but it's like I need to, either because like it's a purchase or a repair that needs to be made, or it's somebody who is owed something. And yeah, so that might be you might find yourself in a position this month where you're having to kind of reluctantly let go of some of your funds. So that might be something to work through. And also like how, like, maybe money issues and how you think about prosperity and stability in that sense. The next thing that came through was my, and that's kind of like in like disbelief. Like, it might be like the feeling that I kind of got was like truth is stranger than, you know, fiction sometimes. That like sometimes the things that happen to you, the things that you observe, are just so strange or so bizarre that they kind of make you scratch your head. Like, how does that even happen? So there might be something that you're feeling a little bit bewildered by. I don't know how that might apply to you. And then the other thing that came through with that, it was kind of like double pronged, is that it could be in terms of being like very self-focused and even like possessiveness. So you might be very focused on like your money, your belongings, your space, your free time, your wishes, your desires. And again, that can be a challenge of Aries season, because Aries is, you know, pretty driven, pretty self-focused. And when that energy gets out of balance, it can be destructive. So just like, however that makes sense to you, if that strikes something in you, maybe just being aware of that so you can kind of balance that energy out for yourself. The next thing that came through was interrupted nostalgia. And so you might be feeling pretty nostalgic. You might be connecting to people or places or things or memories, you know, like fond memories from the past, looking back on things. And there might be something that's getting in your way of fully being able to take that time to reflect, because that time is valuable. Like, obviously we can't live in the past, and, you know, we can't try to recreate the past moving forward, but, you know, it's nice. It's nice to take a moment to reflect on your life, on your experiences, the things that shaped you, the things that are meaningful. And quite often it can give us more insight into ourselves when we take a look back on our journey and what we experienced and what we learned, and we can see how we changed and grew and the things that were kind of like pivotal in our development. So that may be something that's beneficial to you. It might be something that you feel like you're longing to do. Like, it could even be looking at old photos. And it might be that like it's getting interrupted by external forces. Maybe it's not appreciated or understood by the people around you, or maybe every time you sit down to do it, it gets interrupted. And I would just say, like, if that makes sense to you this month and it's something that you feel drawn to do, I think, you know, even if you get interrupted, to make sure that you take time to return to that and investigate what that has to offer you, even if it's just kind of something to lighten the mood a little bit, right? By reflecting on the past. The next thing that came up was forgive and forget. But I didn't feel this in like a really positive, freeing way. It felt like a constricting, obligated kind of way. And so it's like you might be feeling pressured that you have to forgive and forget. Maybe people are making you feel as though you're overreacting or you're too sensitive to certain things. And not only do you need to forgive, but you need to like forget about it and just like leave it in the past and pretend like it didn't happen. And on that note, I just want to say like, forgiveness is really important because forgiveness is a huge part, whether you're forgiving yourself or somebody else, that's a huge part in our own growth and healing and just allowing ourselves to move forward from mistakes or misgivings or things that, tend to be kind of painful and can weigh on us. It's really important for us to be able to allow ourselves to forgive and to do the work that's necessary. So I would say like definitely, if there's stuff that you're carrying that needs forgiveness, I would definitely make that a point of focusing on how you can do that for yourself, just for your own well-being. But I don't think it's reasonable to forget. And if somebody is telling you that you need to forget, I would be very wary of, what their motives are and what their approach is, because I don't necessarily think that that's the best advice. I don't think that that's healthy. I don't know that that has your best interest in mind. And the thing is, for example, if there's somebody who has wronged us that we're forgiving, we're not meant to forget, right? Because there's obviously a lesson in that, and we're meant to be able to recognize those patterns moving forward and know like, hey, I've been in this situation before. Someone has displayed these characteristics before, and like, I'm not going to forget about it because I don't want to make the same mistake again, right? I don't want to participate in that again. And a lot of times when people say forgive and forget, it's because they want to be completely absolved and pretend like it never happened. And it's more about their own feelings, and that's their work to do. Like that's their forgiveness to extend to themselves. So yeah, I would say it's totally fine if you don't forget, because you want to take the lesson, but in the same sense, you don't want to tie yourself to that past experience and be stuck in that energy, especially if it's a difficult one. So it's about doing whatever is going to empower you to move forward, to take the lessons that you've learned, to be aware of anything that is not going to be helpful to you, but you don't have to forget. That's not valuable to you. And like, it's very possible to forgive people and choose not to interact with them any longer and not to give them a place in your life any longer. And that's up to you if that's in your best interest, and it's not anyone else's call to make. So yeah, just keep that in mind, because I get the sense that it's like there might be something oppressive related to that energy that you have to kind of push through. The next thing that came through is overly controlling. So that could be connected to it. You might be dealing with somebody who is controlling or who has controlling tendencies, or this might be someone from your past that you've moved on from and that is coming back into your awareness and trying to kind of drag you back into that dynamic under the guise of like closure or forgiveness, but really it's just them trying to like suck you back into that dynamic. So I would just say, like, if you're dealing with somebody who's controlling, like, I know we've all got our issues, but, I don't think there's any excuse for someone being, unhealthy and overbearing and trying to put limitations on other people. So I would just be really highly aware of anybody who's showing up in your life with that kind of energy, and why. Like, why are they showing up? Like, why are they focused on you? Why is that controlling energy being put in your direction? And how do you redirect that back to them? Because that controlling nature has nothing to do with you. And you don't need to bear the weight of it. You don't need to, live in that kind of under someone's thumb, right? And if you find yourself to be controlling, or you need to have control over everyone and everything in your life, there might be some kind of sense of loss, or like, if you don't have everything under control, then like your life won't work out. Like there's probably tied to some kind of fear or some kind of trauma. So it might be something worth investigating, just knowing that you don't want to be in that position, because that can especially if it's going on in your subconscious, it can really block you. The next thing is your greatest gift is authenticity. And so it's kind of like this, particularly if you're somebody who like, if you want to be known or seen as a good person, or you want to be helpful, you want to be a leader, you want to be somebody that is known, or like however this applies, like whatever kind of positive impact you want to be able to have on people, and however that really, whether it's just in your personal relationships, within your family, as a parent, as a mentor, or a teacher, whether it's in your job, it's knowing that when it comes to our gifts and the ways that we help people, that's not necessarily something that you have to orchestrate or something that you have to really like control and work on and display. It's just a part of who you are. And so to just allow yourself to be who you are as your most authentic self and do things authentically, you're going to have that positive impact wherever you go, and you're going to impact people probably without even realizing it. So it's kind of like allowing yourself to be authentic and showing up as your best self is going to accomplish that, versus making an attempt to kind of, appeal to the masses or appeal to a certain crowd, or, have people perceive you as a certain way, right? So it's like, it's kind of like perception versus reality, or like your image versus who you are on the inside, and like bringing those into alignment. So it's all the goodness and authenticity that's on the inside being displayed outwardly, and then that is what is impacting the people around you, and not having to be strategic about it, right? Not putting that pressure on yourself, and knowing that you are enough as you are. The next thing is graciously accepting help. So there might be help available to you. You might be in need of help or support. You might be somebody who has a difficult time either asking for or receiving help, or maybe both. So yeah, this month might be a very good time to work on knowing that you deserve help and support. If people are showing up willing to help you, it's trusting that they want to, and trusting that you deserve it, and feeling okay saying yes, take that help, take that support. The next thing that came through was like menu options. So it's like almost being paralyzed. So when you go to a restaurant and the menu is just like huge, and there are so many options that it's like, it's almost impossible to decide. So that's the kind of sense that I got. So I don't know how that might apply to you, but I kind of get the sense of like having a lot of options, or having a lot of directions that you can go in. So much so that it's difficult to kind of narrow down which one. So you've got decisions to make. So that might be a bit of a struggle for you. It might be something that you need to kind of turn inward on. The next thing that came through was Slow Dancing in a Burning Room. So that's the song by John Mayer. It's kind of sad, to be honest, but it's really beautiful. I love the song. So you might want to listen to it or take a look at the lyrics, see if that resonates with you at all. The next thing that came through was awards season. And I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know if there is an awards season or what awards season would be. I don't know what kind of awards. It might just be symbolic for like coming into a period of time where you're seeing like recognition or celebration or acknowledgement for your work or what you've been able to achieve. Some kind of award or recognition that you might be in the running for. That might be on your mind, however that applies to you. And then the last one that came through was Somewhere Over the Rainbow, like the song. So again, I would take a listen, take a look at the lyrics, see how that resonates for you. But it's very much a feeling of being hopeful that, there is better out there, that you can connect with better someday. And it's kind of like dreaming of this beautiful life that could be available to you. So I don't know, it's kind of like keeping that hope and focusing on what that might be for you. So let's get, oh my gosh, channel messages are super long as always with you guys. So we'll get into your cards. So your first one is Chop Wood. And your second one is She Feels, She Knows. So I very much get the sense, like right off the bat, that April is going to be a month of really just kind of being present in your day-to-day life. because both of these cards speak to like your bigger purpose, the bigger picture, like a big manifestation, major goals, but that like now's not the time, right? Now's not the time that you're going to get there. Now's not the time that you're going to be making significant leaps and bounds. Now is kind of the time, and it's not a rest period where you're waiting either. Now is just the time to be focused on kind of like doing the groundwork, laying the foundation, right? So with chop wood, which I feel like this is like a funny idea, chop wood, because there's a broom, right? There's a broom and there's like a bucket, and yeah, it's a very interesting illustration, but it's kind of like also the sense that I get is like cleaning house, right? But this refers to, I think it's like a Zen, I don't know if it's a proverb or a quote or a story, whatever. But the saying goes, what do you do before enlightenment? So before you're enlightened, chop wood and carry water. What do you do after enlightenment? Chop wood and carry water. And so it's basically just saying that, like, it's not necessarily what you're doing, because you could be doing the most mundane day-to-day tasks that are obviously required for our survival. It's kind of like what's going on in the inside that counts. So the change might not be visible on the outside, and it might not change, that basic kind of day-to-day life that you need to live, but the transformation is more internal. It's more your thoughts, your feelings, your perceptions, how you're participating in your life. And so it's basically saying that, like, on the outside, it's not necessarily a time that you're going to be taking major leaps and really putting in work and really being focused on big goals. So it's like, if you have major goals that you've been focused on, something that you're trying to bring into existence, something that you're trying to achieve or improve, whatever that is for you that you've been most focused on building or creating or manifesting, it's basically saying, like, it's almost time to give yourself a little bit of a break from that end goal and envisioning that and daydreaming it. It's kind of like come back down to earth, because, in the end, to get to that end goal, what's going to benefit you most this month is really just kind of buckling down and focusing on your day-to-day tasks and your inner landscape while you're doing your daily kind of tasks, right? So it's like there might not be anything major and exciting going on. There might not be anything that really looks as though it's going to materialize into something bigger or take you in the direction that you're looking to go in, but it's kind of understanding that, this is a necessary part of your day-to-day life. And because it's something that's necessary and it can't necessarily be avoided, like if it's just the most basic things that you need to do to kind of survive and exist, in the physical world, that it's like, if that's never going to change, it's more so like your attitude, your perceptions, and your beliefs about that will change, and the level of presence that you can bring to those daily tasks. And so it's kind of like, the idea is, there is no difference between an enlightened person and an unenlightened person on the outside, right? Because they're doing the same kinds of tasks. It's how their inner work and what they've learned has impacted them internally. And, the level of satisfaction and joy and happiness that they're able to get out of life. So it's like, the idea is, if you're unenlightened, and so we don't have to speak in terms of enlightenment and unenlightened, because that's, I don't know, I don't feel like that's a very inclusive way to approach this. But the very idea is that, like, even if you look at happiness versus like unhappiness, if you're feeling unhappy and, part of that unhappiness is your day-to-day tasks, and maybe you're feeling overwhelmed, with like, well, I have to do the dishes and I have to go grocery shopping and I have to cook dinner and then I have to clean the house and, I've got to pay my bills, got to go to work and got to drive here. And like, if you're just focused on all of these things that you have to do, and it feels like a drain, then inevitably, yes, if that's how you perceive it, that's how it's going to impact you. It's going to drain you. And so it's basically saying, like, now is a good time to really be present in all of those things that you have to do, especially the things that you feel obligated to do, especially the things that aren't particularly joyful or exciting. And you might even feel like there are things that are keeping you from achieving whatever it is that you want to achieve, or having the time to do whatever it is that you want to do. But it's kind of recognizing that there's value in that, and that you are still able to, be transformed, and you're still able to connect with happiness in spite of all of that. So focusing on those things, being aware of the fact that they carry value, that they are supporting your end goal, and it's not keeping you from manifesting what you want. It's just kind of like, it's learning how to navigate the day-to-day stuff and the non-exciting stuff, and sometimes even the really like difficult, challenging stuff, so that you have a really stable foundation to build upon when things do start to come in for you, and when you do start to manifest, and whatever it is that you've been dreaming of starts to come in. So it's like you're being given the opportunity to kind of like prepare yourself. And the thing is, if you're at a point where, day-to-day life is feeling really mundane and like a drag, and every little thing that you have to do just to kind of exist in the world is feeling like a chore and it's draining you of your energy, then, if you were to become super successful, or all of your dreams came true and everything that you wanted came true, you probably wouldn't be in a place to appreciate that, because just living and the day-to-day things is kind of like already robbing you of any joy you could have. So this is a really empowering message for you to see that, the difference between happiness and unhappiness is not necessarily outside of ourselves. And when we are happy on the inside, the things that we do on the outside don't necessarily change, like especially when it comes to chores and tasks and things that can't be avoided. And it's like, not having to do those things isn't what's going to bring us happiness, because having to do them doesn't bring us unhappiness. It is what it is, right? And so it's kind of like learning how to make peace with that. And part of that is just learning how to, or allowing yourself to be present in whatever you're doing. So if you're washing the dishes, be present washing the dishes, and, acknowledge, like participate actively, acknowledge what you're doing, acknowledge how it's helpful to you, right? And how it is, an important part of your life, right? Even if it's the most tiny little mundane thing. I think it's recognizing that it's still playing a role in you getting to where you want to be. And so the kind of sense is this month is that you might not feel like you're seeing things like materialize or making big moves. But yeah, now is just the time to kind of, focus on your day-to-day stuff, focus on your day-to-day things and enjoying them, and not putting a whole bunch of pressure on yourself to get everything figured out and to make massive moves and to have, your end goal materialize now. It's like, it's totally okay if this month all you do is focus on doing the things that you need to do and figuring out how you can feel happier doing that, and bring more of your presence and awareness into that, and see that as an investment in yourself, because the more that you are able to feel kind of happy and content just doing those simple things that you need to do, the more energy you're going to have to, receive more. And so the interesting thing with She Feels and She Knows, this is basically saying like, this month might be a really good opportunity for a shift in perspective. And it's kind of like, it's almost like there is enlightenment, like there is some kind of knowledge that's coming to you, or that's going to make itself known to you. And it's not going to be like some massive ground shattering realization that just shakes you to your core. It's going to be in a more gentle, subtle way. And this might be something that you're already experiencing, or you're already aware of, or something that, comes in for you over the course of the month. But it's basically like, whatever that realization is, you'll know it, and you'll know its importance when it happens. Because it's kind of like knowing something without knowing how or when you figured it out. So it can be very subtle. And I think that's probably also why it's important to just focus on those simple tasks, right? Don't overcomplicate things. Don't get really caught up in your mind, and don't get caught up in like this dream state where you're projecting yourself into the future. Because I think just being present and conscious and aware, and just focusing on even the most basic kind of parts of your survival, is going to free up space and energy and awareness for you to kind of be able to sense this realization and what is going to change for you. Because yeah, this is basically saying like, this is both related to like how the smaller stuff, or the stuff that we don't appreciate, or the stuff that we don't enjoy, the stuff that we perceive as work, is ultimately related to us getting, our end goal or our end wish, even if we can't see how. And so that's it. So especially if you have the sense that there's more out there for you, or that there's more coming, or that there's more that you can connect with, if there's like this sense of light or excitement or joy, because it's like, well, I know that there's something better than just like living day-to-day life and focusing on my chores. It's like, if you sense that, you're right. But sometimes we need to really embrace that part of life and really ground ourselves to be open to receiving guidance that will help us get there. Because if you're always focused on what you need to be doing and what you need to make happen and these big moves and big goals, your energy is really consumed, and you've got a lot of noise going on in your head that you're not necessarily open and receptive to the awareness and the support and the kind of opportunity for transformation that's available to you. And so it's basically saying, like, this month, by quieting down and just kind of trying to zen out, like making the things that you have to do, the day-to-day chores, like almost like a meditative practice, like being aware and being present while you're doing it. It will allow you to be aware of what you're feeling and experiencing, so that when this realization comes kind of like gently creeping in, you're going to understand. And it's basically like, right now, you might not be able to understand how doing this is going to benefit you, or how it's going to contribute to this, like the bigger picture and you getting to where you want to be, but it's trusting that it will. And the way that you know that you can trust that you're on the right path, and that this is going to be helpful to you, is to recognize that light and that hope that you're sensing, and that thing that you're feeling drawn to move toward, whether you can clearly classify or envision that or not, it's real. And that light is within you, and really that light, that future that you're sensing that can be brighter for you, is just a reflection of your own inner light, and it's just kind of amplified. So it's kind of like everything starts with you, and this is a really good time to reconnect to yourself, and just by simply focusing on the more practical side of things. So we're going to get you some cards here to take a closer look at the month. Okay, so your first card is the Knight of Wands. Your second card is the Three of Wands. Oh my gosh, that is too funny. Your third card is the Two of Wands. All right, let's get one more. Your fourth card, gosh, funny. Fourth card is the Nine of Swords. I'm going to move these over a little bit. I always have trouble spacing these out. I kind of never know. Oh my goodness. And on the bottom of the deck, we have the Three of Swords. Well, that paints a pretty thorough picture for me, but I'm going to do something a little differently. I'm going to get all of your clarifiers right away so I can read all of the cards as a whole. So let's clarify this Knight of Wands. Okay. The Knight of Wands, we have the Ten of Cups. We'll clarify the Three of Wands. Three of Wands clarified by the Eight of Swords. Clarify the Two of Wands. Oh, I love that. Always love seeing the Leo card come out in the Leo reading. And this goes for every sign. Like when your zodiac sign, your energy comes out, it is a good day. Right. And finally, we'll clarify the Nine of Swords. That one came out confidently. Two of Cups. Yep. Goodness, Leo. Not surprised, though. And Three of Wands at the bottom of the deck for the clarifiers. There's a lot here. Where do I even start? So I will start by saying, first off, with all of this Wands energy here, that does not surprise me. You being a fire sign, us being in Aries season, connected to that fire sign energy, you might be feeling like a renewal of like energy or passion. It doesn't even have to be like passion and excitement. It can also be like anger. It can be anger and frustration. It's basically like fire energy is basically the way that our passion, our excitement, our enthusiasm, the things that are important to us and light us up, the way that they impact our lives, the way that we take action on them. And so if we ignore our passion and our joy and those things that are important to us, the things that make us feel alive and that feel like, you know, like our energy, right? Like it is for us. It's what we enjoy. If we deny that, then ultimately we end up feeling, unfulfilled. We feel dampened. And a lot of times that can end up having us feel, sad. That can manifest in terms of anger and frustration because we don't feel like we have the outlet or the joy, or there's that energy, that fire that's burning within that has nowhere to go, or it's being contained. So that's really interesting. But I will say, so with the Three of Swords and the Three of Wands at the bottom of the deck, the Three of Swords is a card of loss and heartbreak. It can be like really painful experiences, painful thoughts, painful memories, painful words, like things that you say to yourself, beliefs that you have about yourself, things that have been said or done to you by other people that have impacted you deeply. Because it's like, there's the kind of like a sense of like torture. And so it's not just emotional torture, but it's the way that those challenging and hurtful experiences impact our beliefs about ourselves, about other people, about the things that are important to us, and how they can kind of like, shatter hope almost. And so with that being connected to the Three of Wands, the Three of Wands is a card of, kind of like following your inner bliss, following your path, and your enthusiasm, and allowing yourself to consider the opportunities that are available to you. And so this could have to do with what you thought was going to be a fulfilling and exciting opportunity for love, or what you're hoping to connect with in terms of something that is going to help heal your heartbreak. And it might not have turned out the way you wanted it to, or it might have only intensified whatever that kind of turmoil is for you. But it's kind of like that's what's influencing what's going on this month, however that makes sense for you. And so you're being advised to kind of come into the month of April in this Knight of Wands energy. So that's, it's kind of like allowing yourself to be free. Like it's almost like a wild horse here, right? So she's kind of like, she is celebrating, she's dancing, she's enjoying herself. It's like kind of marching to the beat of her own drum. And you can see in the center of the drum, there's fire. And so that's her passion, her creativity, her enthusiasm. Like that's her spark, the things that really like make her excited about life. And it's allowing herself to indulge in that, allowing that to guide her, making room for that in her life. And it's being expressive. So it's not only knowing what that is for you, but valuing it, taking action on it, and allowing yourself to express yourself authentically, the things that you enjoy. So you might be somebody who doesn't actively like express a lot of happiness or joy, or maybe you feel like in like celebration, maybe you feel like there's a time and a place for that, or you feel the need to be reserved. But it's kind of like allowing yourself to be a little bit more wild, allowing yourself to be a little bit more deeply impacted by those things that are meaningful to you, and stepping into and embracing that energy without worrying about what anyone else is going to think of you. And with this being connected to the Ten of Cups, the Ten of Cups is like the happily ever after card when it comes to like emotional happiness and fulfillment. It can be in family, in relationships, it can be in work, however that makes sense for you. But this is basically like, this is kind of like, the equivalent of somewhere over the rainbow. It's like, this is the life that's at the end of the rainbow. It's all of your wishes fulfilled, that level of depth and connection. And it's like a meaningful, joyful life. And so it's kind of like, the sense that I get is it's almost like starting to lean into like who it is that you want to be, how it is that you want to feel, what you want your life to start looking like. So it's like, if you listen to that song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and you consider like, what is it that you're dreaming about? Are you dreaming of blue skies and sunshine? Are you dreaming of a beach? Are you dreaming of a job where you don't feel miserable? Are you dreaming of a partnership that is balanced and happy and equal? So it's like taking time to really allow yourself to connect with your passion and your inspiration, and like this can even be like creative outlets as well, but really just being you, being authentic, allowing yourself to enjoy your life and express yourself as you are, knowing that that's going to play a huge part in like your wish fulfillment and living the dream life. So it's like the dream life is not something that's going to come to you or suddenly materialize because you've done enough work. It has everything to do with how you feel about yourself. And so it's taking this kind of like fire and enthusiasm and allowing that to kind of infectiously, impact the rest of your life. So it's like, have that energy and enthusiasm when you're washing your dishes, right? Like put some music on that you enjoy, sing, dance, like do what you need to do to bring your joy and your spark into even the most mundane things. And you will begin creating a life that is influenced by that energy and with a vision of what that happily ever after, that emotional fulfillment and abundance and joy looks like and feels like to you. That's your focus, right? It's like channeling yourself into that and finding ways to create that energy, to create that space, and to start feeling and experiencing those things now. Because if you're not connecting to and feeling and experiencing those things now, like if not now, then when, right? Like, is there going to be a certain set of circumstances that's just going to ultimately suddenly be perfect, and then you're going to be like, oh, okay, now I can be happy, now I can be enthusiastic, now I can do the things that I want to do. So it's kind of like identifying what it is that you want and what is stopping you from not only from getting there, but from allowing yourself to start experiencing that now. And chances are it's these painful thoughts and ideas, which are just perceptions, right? So it's like, I think you might be surprised to find that you can connect with and embrace that energy and bring that into your life right now, just by changing your mind and realizing that you're not bound in the way that you think that you are. The interesting thing is your challenge for this month is going to be like, it can be an opportunity, either recognizing or seeing that opportunity exists. It could be having a lot of options, having a decision to make and not knowing which one, because here we've got the Three of Wands again. So it's like she's in a place where she's already kind of started off on the path, to like living her bliss, following her heart, like letting that enthusiasm for life and the things that light her up to kind of guide her way. So she's already started, and now she's at a point where she's seeing how that can impact her life, and how that has opened up a number of doors. And it's kind of like, waiting for your ships to come in and seeing the results of what you've been able to do thus far. But with that comes the understanding that, the more that you open up to life and the more opportunity that's available to you, the more you kind of have to connect further with yourself to determine what path you want to take. So it can be, feeling paralyzed and overwhelmed by opportunities, but it can also be like waiting for an opportunity to present itself, but not necessarily being open to seeing that. So you might not either think that there are opportunities for you to live this happy and passionate and fulfilled life, or you might be very focused on like one way that can manifest, and that you're not seeing that manifest, or you're not seeing how that's possible. And so you're kind of like shutting off from it, because this is basically saying like your challenge is that you've got a lot of fear, you've got a lot of self-imposed limitations or limiting beliefs or things that you're kind of clinging on to, and thoughts and beliefs and perceptions that you are allowing to basically trap you in a place where you're not moving forward. So it's identifying that if you're feeling stuck and if you're feeling like there's no options available to you, or if you're afraid to acknowledge the options or afraid to think about making a decision, it's kind of like being stuck in your head and ruminating, right? And basically like there's nothing There's nothing keeping you stuck except for yourself and the things that you're telling yourself. And those things probably aren't even yours. Like, that's probably not how you really feel. That's not how you want to feel. That's not how you want to think. It's probably just things that you've adopted, perhaps even like to protect yourself from the pain that you've experienced in the past, or the pain of having those experiences repeated in the future. It could be things that other people have said and done to you that have made you close off and be afraid of like taking steps toward your happiness and bliss. But that's your challenge, is like not to allow those thoughts. So it's kind of recognizing when you're saying no to yourself, or when you're acknowledging the things that you want, or you want to connect with, or you want to feel, or you want to bring into your life, when you're telling yourself no, and when you're telling yourself that that's not possible, or that can't happen, or when you're falling into fear, thinking that it never will happen, or if it hasn't happened already, then it won't. And it's recognizing that those are the thoughts that are holding you back. And they're nothing but thoughts, right? And so if you allow those thoughts to get away from you and to keep you in your cocoon, then you never have the ability to like to transform. And so that's what's happening. It's like there's this butterfly that you can see is fully transformed and is ready to come out of the cocoon, and it's feeling stuck, like it can't fully transform and embrace its new experience because it's in danger. But it's not really in danger. Like, there's room for this butterfly to come out, and then it's a butterfly. It can fly away. It's not threatened by these swords, but it's the idea. It's the idea that there's threat. It's the idea. And so physically, in reality, there is no limitation. There's no danger. It's just a perception. And so it's recognizing how our perceptions can kind of hijack us and not necessarily be true. And so, yeah, it's basically saying like you're going to be challenged by your thoughts and by your perceptions, especially the things that have happened in the past, and especially the things that are tied to like heartbreak and anguish that inspire fear and anxiety. And that is what is keeping you from either moving forward on this path of, of excitement, moving toward your fulfillment, allowing yourself to have a more lively, passionate life, or to, see or embrace the opportunities, or to feel comfortable taking that next step for yourself. And that could tie into like really needing to quiet down and be more connected to your heart, because it's like you feel, you have intuitive guidance that is available to you, but it's really difficult to connect with that and to feel it when you're in your head and you're kind of obsessing over all of these things that you feel like are keeping you stuck. And so it's like, these are all cards of opportunity. So your recommended energy to kind of deal with those limiting beliefs, especially when it comes to opportunity and continuing along your path to a more fulfilling life, is being willing to do something different, right? Being willing to get out of your comfort zone, because the Two of Wands is like, you have a decision to make. You can stay in the place that you've always been, doing the same thing that you've always done, because it's comfortable, right? And so this is saying like, likely you are living within your comfort zone right now. And if you're unhappy with your life, chances are that's tied to your comfort zone, because we get attached to comfort zones because they feel safe and they have this like illusion of stability and safety, but it doesn't allow us to grow and experience. So it protects us from change. And then as a result, we end up actively resisting change, which change is inevitable. But if we're actively resisting change, then a lot of times we're actually making our situation worse and more painful. And so this is basically just saying that like, your comfort zone might be a beautiful place and it might feel safe, but that's what's keeping you stuck, right? Because it's not allowing you to grow. It's not allowing you to embrace change. And it's not allowing you to recognize that you have the strength to step out of what has been and to step out of the things that are actively making you unhappy or preventing you from moving toward your happiness, even though the opportunity is there. And so, yeah, this is a very empowering energy that it's kind of like, what can you change? What can you do differently? Because especially if you're a creature of habit, especially if you like to have control over everything and you kind of like want to have a method that's tried and true, or you want to stay in your comfort zone because you're afraid of blossoming. That's really what this is. It's like allowing yourself to transform into the butterfly. And so it's like, the caterpillar goes into the cocoon and then comes out as a butterfly, and it's like, oh, this wonderful, beautiful transformation. But what people don't focus on is that that caterpillar basically like has to like dissolve. Like it's a really messy, kind of awful process that has to be, you know, undertaken in order for that transformation to take place and for this butterfly to come out, you know, as something new and beautiful and transformed. So it's like, you know, we are transformed by struggle and by, you know, difficulty and, you know, adversity. And this is basically saying, like, if you're unhappy now and you're staying in a comfort zone, then, you know, what is the risk in stepping outside of that comfort zone, doing something differently, especially if it's something that you're passionate about or that calls to you or that makes you feel alive, something that you're going to enjoy? Because, like, worst case scenario, if it fails, are you going to be worse off than if you just relegate yourself to staying in this comfort zone where you're telling yourself that life can never be what you want it to be? Like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it feels scary and unknown, but it's recognizing that when those fears come creeping in, and whatever doubts you have that are keeping you in your comfort zone and keeping you from growth and embracing your transformation, it's recognizing that, like, you have the strength not only to overcome that, but you have the strength to start, you know, taking charge of your life and lighting your own way. And you won't realize that. I think, like, everything you've experienced to date, you've probably been put through a lot. You've probably been tested and challenged, and your strength has been demonstrated. But I don't necessarily know that you've actually looked at yourself as a strong person and said, like, wow, I was able to overcome all of this, or I did this and I did that, and, like, look how strong I am, right? So it's like, maybe it's only by kind of stepping out of that comfort zone and doing something new, doing something that's exciting to you, and taking that chance on yourself, that you're really going to be able to kind of face your fear and realize that, like, no matter what life throws your way, you're going to be able to overcome it, right? And especially, like, the only thing, they say the only thing to fear is fear itself, right? And it's because fear is what keeps us stuck, and it takes away our power. And I think it's recognizing that, like, you are a lion on the inside, whether you're embracing that and acting like that on a day-to-day basis, or whether you feel hesitant to recognize that in yourself. It is within you, and it's about giving yourself opportunities to, like, recognize and prove your own strength to yourself. And that's not necessarily something that you can do if you're staying within the safety of a comfort zone, within things, like, that are familiar and that are within your control, because inherently that is doubting your ability. And they say the only reason that we fear something is not that we fear that thing or that circumstance, it's that we fear that we're unable to handle it. And so if you can start taking a look at the things that you enjoy, like, what does your dream life look like, and what are the fears that are keeping you from pursuing that, or taking action on that, and realizing that those are just fears, and you're just afraid that, like, whether good or bad, or whether challenging or enlightening experience is had, that you're not going to be able to handle yourself. If you change your mind about that and say, like, well, how do I know if I don't try? How do you know your strength if you never put yourself to the test? It's like running. If you're a runner or if you exercise, how do you know if you can do something if you don't try? How do you know you can't run a 5K if you don't try? You might have to start with one and, like, work your way up slowly and train, but that's the same with life, right? It's like, you're not necessarily going to know and master everything right out of the gate, so you can't make assumptions about what you're capable of, right? So it's like, if you can open your eyes to the world that's available to you and that you want to start connecting with, and all of this opportunity that's here, it's like, why not start taking a chance on yourself and giving yourself the opportunity to learn and grow? Because even if you fail, failure is not a bad thing. Failure is how we learn and grow, and we improve, right? So it's like, you have the strength to overcome anything. And I think that if you get out of that comfort zone and start making decisions and pursuing things that are exciting to you and only you, that's like, that makes you feel alive, not only are you going to be feeling better about yourself and recognizing more opportunities, but you're going to recognize, like, hey, even if this is, like, different, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's less stable or things are out of my control, it's like, I can handle it. And, you know, you can probably end up with a lot more happiness and confidence in yourself just by, you know, taking a chance on yourself and connecting to something better, especially if you're feeling limited. And the nice thing is the highest possible outcome for this month is essentially being able to free yourself from kind of like all of these negative, hurtful thoughts and limiting beliefs, all of the fears, all of these perceptions, the things that keep you stuck, the things that make you sad, the things that make you feel unworthy, things that are connected to heartbreak, the ways that you criticize yourself or you're fearful of being criticized by other people. So like this is like the things that keep you up at night, right? The anxiety, the thoughts, the fears, the stress, the things that aren't necessarily serving you, but it's recognizing like there are all these unhelpful, dark thoughts here, but then there's one light one, right? And so it's like, if you allow yourself to focus on that one light one, that's your truth, that's your hope, that's this spark that lights you up. And it's basically saying like this other stuff is just noise, right? It's not necessarily true. It's not necessarily helpful. And the Nine of Swords is about, you've probably been through a lot, and that's how you've accumulated all of these kind of unhelpful things that are hovering over you, that might be giving you nightmares, might be waking nightmares, might be keeping you from getting to sleep at night. And it's basically saying like, you can let all of those go. And even if those things are still there and you're learning to work through them, you can focus on that one thing that feels hopeful, that one thing that feels uplifting. And that has the opportunity to kind of transform you. And so the really beautiful thing is it's like, this is also connected to the Two of Cups, which the Two of Cups is all about like, love and partnership and depth of connection and fulfillment in relationships. And this is not only relationships to other people, but also to yourself, right? And so this could be related to love, to happiness, to joy, to connection. So it could be that, all of the stress and anxiety and these limiting beliefs are what is actually keeping you either from loving and accepting yourself, or like finding or participating in or valuing a really, really beautiful, loving, deep, emotional connection with another person. This is often like a soulmate card, and it doesn't have to be romantic, but a lot of times it is. And so it's kind of like, this is the opportunity for you to kind of release all of these fears and all of these limiting beliefs about love and what love can look like for you, how you love yourself, right? And how other people's love you, how you get other people love you, and how you give and receive love. And it's about like loving yourself first, truly and wholly, and allowing yourself to benefit from that love and connecting with somebody who's on the same level, so that you've got two whole people coming together, sharing life with one another, instead of being in like a codependent or draining dynamic. And so there's the opportunity to kind of like escape from this nightmare, however that is related to like love or relationships for you. So I think, and that could be tied to this heartbreak as well. So it's kind of like, you might not think that there are opportunities out there for you, but there absolutely are. And it's just a matter of getting out of your comfort zone and staying out of your mind, staying out of this like daydream about what and how it's going to happen, and maybe just getting into the day-to-day tasks and, zenning out a little bit and giving yourself some space to receive your own inner wisdom. Because the things that are important to you, the guidance that is meant for you, is going to come through as something that you feel, and it's going to be subtle. So you don't want to be so busy focusing on your stress and anxiety that you are not open to recognizing this inner guidance that's available to you through your feelings, right? And this also supports, so this sense that there's something better out there, that there's lightness out there for you. That's this. She's looking out. She's got a decision to make, and that's this here. So it's out there, but you have to be willing to connect with it and realize that. So I love this energy for you, Leo. Your first affirmation: whenever I compare myself to others, I simply say this prayer: the light I see in them is a reflection of my inner light. So that kind of goes like with the channeled messages as well, is that it's like, don't worry about what other people are doing, and just recognize that, like, we all fall into the trap of comparison, and we can be critical on ourselves and And it's also with social media, it's kind of difficult to avoid that these days, but it's recognizing that anything that you see in somebody else that you appreciate, it might be them having something that you want. It might even spark like jealousy in you. It's recognizing that, you know, the reason that you're able to recognize that they have it is, and that you want it, is because it's also within you. And so, you know, there's nothing being kept from you. It's chances are whatever they have, you have as well. It's just a matter of recognizing that it is, you know, it is within you, and that's how you can see it. In order to awaken the world to the light, I must not be afraid to shine. And that's it. Like, you know, it seems like you have something to share, whether it's your passion, your creativity, love, you know, joy, friendship. You know, in order to impact people around you, it's like you have to let yourself get into that space as well. So it's like it's not only going to benefit you, but others as well. And it's like you just have to give yourself permission, right? Permission to step into that energy, make that decision to do something different, get out of your comfort zone, and then you can start connecting with all the opportunities that are available to you. I begin my day with love. Yeah, and so again, with the 2 of Cups and the 10 of Cups here, and also the heartbreak card, it's like love is a major theme. So this could be how you love yourself, how you love other people, how other people love and treat you. You know, it's recognizing how you want to give and receive love, what you deserve. And also like setting boundaries too, like self-love, self-care also has to do with what we accept from other people. So that is a good way. So it's like a daily love, gratitude practice might be helpful for you to just get into that loving space. It's also going to help you remain grounded and centered, focused on your own energy, and like block out the noise of your mind when it kind of runs amok. Right? And then there is always a solution of the highest good, which I also love because it's like that somewhere over the rainbow, and the sense of there being something more out there. It's like whatever you're going through right now is an integral part of your journey, whether or not it feels like it's enjoyable, whether or not it feels like it's connected, and whether or not you can see that. It's like this is an integral part. This is the foundation. This is what you're meant to be experiencing. You're meant to be just existing in your day-to-day life, learning how to bring your love and awareness and enjoyment into these mundane kind of moments. And that is going to allow you to be transformed in such a way that you're going to be ready to move on to the next step of your manifestation. And you're going to be able to connect with wisdom, right? Because if you're super busy mentally, physically, emotionally, and you're all blocked up, you can't receive that advice. But also you have to trust it, like, there is bigger and better out there, and you will be able to connect with that. And, you know, it's kind of like, it's not until in hindsight that we can kind of see the big picture, but the big picture is still there, even if you can't see how this puzzle piece fits at this moment. So I like that. And then I'm going to finish off with one more oracle card, just because when I read for people, I do like to pull an oracle card or two at the end, just to kind of see how it might shed a little bit further light or clarification. So I'm going to read it to you directly from the guidebook. I'm just trying to find the right page here. But yeah, I just shuffled and one fell out for you. So I'm going to find... Right, and I will, I'll read it directly from the guidebook instead of doing an interpretation to see if that is helpful. Okay, so what you got? Dance with life. Do something to change your energy. Wow, doing something different. And so that can also apply to this chop wood, which is like being more intentional about what you're doing. It's the energy that you bring and the intention that you bring to whatever you're doing that allows you to be transformed and change. It's not what you're doing itself, right? So it's like, even if you're doing the dishes, you can change that kind of experience for yourself intentionally. So dance with life and do something to change your energy. Life is always moving. If you resist this ever-changing flow, your energy will become stagnant and you will fall out of flow with the universe. The universe has a mysterious intelligent force, a natural rhythmic beat which governs all of life. One of the best ways to shift your energy, frequency, and vibration is to put on some music and dance along with it. When we dance unrestrained, our spirit takes over, and with each new bop, sway, and kick, we are rocked back into harmony with the rest of life. Get unstuck by doing something that shifts your vibration. Put on some music, dance unrestrained, and fall into the frequency of life. In doing so, your body will begin to learn how to be moved by your intuition, which is connected with the systemic beat. If dancing isn't your thing, then simply do something that you would not usually do to shift your energy. You cannot solve a problem with the same mind that created it, and you cannot attract a different experience without changing your energy first. It's time to shift things up and find a way to dance along with the beat of life. And the action is do something to change your energy. And that's funny because that's very much this, dancing to the beat of your own drum. And so, yeah, the chances are, like, if you feel like you're out of tune with life and like things are just not in the flow, it's probably because you've gotten stagnant in this like comfort zone and you're too much in your head, right? And so it's like you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. And I think that's it. I think you're just kind of getting yourself stuck in overthinking and stuck in these fears. And yeah, it's just by being more intentional and more present and shifting the way that you do things, that is going to open up new doors for you, because getting yourself more into your body and more in tune is going to allow you to receive that energy. So that like goes together really nicely. So Leo, I think this is a really beautiful reading for you. I hope April is wonderful and you are able to capitalize on this. I hope you are feeling, strong and bossy and ready to take charge, shift your energy this month. So if you enjoyed this reading, please do like the video. Definitely leave me a comment. And if there's anyone you could think of that might benefit from these readings, feel free to share my content with them. If you haven't already, go ahead and hop on over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot. Take a look at my other readings and make sure you hit subscribe so you can stay up to date on new readings as they're posted. But Leo, it was a pleasure reading for you today. I really love this energy for you. I really am like rooting for you guys. I hope that you're able to connect with this and really, use this, for your highest good throughout the month of April, because it does seem to be a really wonderful time. Even if things are not obviously taking shape, it's like this is a really, really great time to do the groundwork. And it's like the opportunity for inner transformation. And that is going to take you leaps and bounds in terms of what's going on in your physical reality. So I think that's wonderful. I loved reading for you. I'm looking forward to reading for you again next month. And in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the best.